Okay, in this lesson, we're going to go over the basic elements or HTML tags that are used to build a web page. An HTML tag may seem alien to you, but actually you've probably used markup language or XML. Um, that's what the ML stands for in the HTML is markup language. Whenever you use any kind of rich text editor like Microsoft Word or Pages from Apple, all text editors basically use markup language. And all you're doing when you're making a web page is actually entering the code that you would normally click a button. For example, even up here when you're looking for bold, for example, if I want to bold something, I would just normally highlight it in a text editor and click bold. But what you're going to do is create some text, and you're going to use the actual tags to change the way or the appearance that the text looks. Okay, you're going to have to excuse the road noise because I live on a very busy street right now. So the tags that I would like you to learn today and use are bold, paragraph, ordered, and unordered. They're basically very similar. The break tag and italic. These are the most commonly used tags that there are. As a matter of fact, you could look up here at the top here. There's two of them anyway, the bold and italic. We're not going to use underline because the underline is very confusing to people if you're going to use it to mark up your text, because typically underlined text in a web page signifies a link. So you really want to try and stay away from using underline at all costs, because that's, once again, it's reserved already for a function on websites. Okay, so we're going to go through these really quick, but first I want to show you something called Lorem Ipsum. When you are generating content for your web page, and it has to be about something, but many of you may be starting this course and you don't actually have any content yet, and that's okay. You can use a Lorem Ipsum, which is very, it's used all over the world as a placeholder for text. And you can go ahead, and there's tons of free online generators online. I just found this one here, and it just makes Lorem Ipsum, which is just, random garbly-gook, text. It doesn't mean anything. So you can just copy some of this, like this one, for example, lets you choose how many, you want to do a paragraph, sentences, words, and it just generates it for you, right? And then you can copy it and you can paste it. So for example, I can just do copy right now, and now I have some text. Now, hopefully on the first lesson or lecture, you went and looked at finding a web host. Everybody has to have a web host because web pages reside on a server. Servers are, you could rent out server space, or you can get one of these free online hosting accounts. I actually pay for one called WestHost. It's one of the largest in the world. This and GoDaddy, I think, are the two biggest web hosts. But I found another one that I listed in the course resources, at least for the first lesson, and I think it's infinity free. It's almost identical to WestHost. I'm just going to use WestHost right now just because I have an account already set up on there. And once again, it's really cheap if you actually want to pay for one, because if you pay for one down the road, as you have more projects, or if you want to make a real website, you already have an account. And it's relatively cheap. I think it's like $5 a month or something like that. And it has like unlimited domain names that you can host. And I can talk more about that later. But I'm just going to log into mine right now. Usually when you create an account, there's something called a chai or chi, however you want to call it, CHI. It's basically the interface for managing your site. And once you log in, Infinity Free is almost identical to this one, I think. When you log in, you're going to come up across some kind of management console. Go ahead and log in. You'll notice that you want to find something that says cPanel. And I mentioned that in the first lesson. So the cPanel is right here. And if I open it, by the way, you can usually have more than one website. Mine has a whole bunch, but I'm just going to look at one right now. So if you're familiar with the file manager on a computer system, either Windows or OS X or Linux, there's some kind of way that you can have files and folders, and that's all this really is, but you're looking on the web server. So you need to find the file manager. Within the file manager, you should already have one folder in there if you're using Infinity Free, and I believe it's called HTML. Inside there is a file called index. I'm just going to go really quick to I'm going to go to my NetPB account here. I have a lot of files in here right now. You should only have one pre-existing in your account, and it will be called something like index index.html. That's probably what it's called. If you do not have one, that's okay. Oh, by the way, the folder won't be called HTML. It'll be called htdocs. And inside that htdocs folder, I believe, is the index. Either way, just look in the folders. You will only have one or two. Find the index file. Here you'll notice I already have a file called index.php. What you're going to do is create this file if you do not already have one. So I'm going to go ahead though right now, and I'm going to copy this, or I'm going to rename it actually. I'm going to call it back, because I'm going to make a new one. So now what I'm going to do is up at the top here somewhere, I should be able to make a file, and it says it has a little plus in the upper left hand corner. I'm going to click on the plus, and it's going to ask me what's the name of the file. I'm going to call it index. Every single web page in the world, every single website in the world has this main file. It's the first file that all web servers look for when someone goes to your website. It's going to look for this, the index. Now, typically you can just call it HTML or HTM, but for this class we're going to call it PHP because we're actually going to learn how to do some PHP programming or scripting. And so if you call it PHP, the web server is going to look at that and go, oh, it's a PHP file, and it will run script. If you do not put PHP and you leave it as HTML and you put code in there, it won't run. So that's one debugging thing that you'll have to look at probably if your code doesn't work, is to see what's the extension of your index page. So I'm going to call it PHP. I'm going to do create new file. And now I have, theoretically, in this folder, an index.php. So in your file manager, you can right-click on it, and you can do edit. Once you hit edit, it brings up the file editor, which is very simple. And this is where you're going to enter your code. Now, I already copied the Lorem Ipsum stuff, so if I paste it here, it kind of puts it there. But you'll notice it runs off the end of the screen here. What we need to do is turn on word wrap, and that should be okay. This arrow here is wrap. Okay, and you'll notice that this is your web page. You'll notice there's a number on the left hand side. That's the number of the line. For example, if I turn wrap off, I mean, there's only one line. If I were to go to the end of this line and hit enter, I am now on line 2. Now, this is something that's very strange that a lot of people beginning to program don't really understand, is that when you are programming HTML or coding, for example, this is PHP, you're speaking a different language. You're not speaking or writing in English anymore. You're writing code. And computers really don't care about hitting the enter key to go to a new line or starting a new paragraph. It's actually just going to read it from end to end, and it doesn't really care about those things. Like the markup language is for humans to use, so it's legible for us. The computer really doesn't care. And so I would just turn on word wrap for now just to keep it simple. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Now, if I were to go to my web page now, so this is the URL, and if I press enter, it's going to bring up that PHP page. But you'll notice that nothing is showing up, 0. But if I go to my code, go back to my code, there is something there, right? So the computer doesn't know, or the server doesn't know how to display it for us right now. So what we need to do is we're going to put some markup language in here, and all tags, HTML tags, start and end with the angled bracket. So the first thing we need to put in here, the first code, is HTML. Now you'll notice right off the bat 2 things. The color has changed. So the color, if I zoom this in a little bit, is now it's colored differently. It's not black. This is syntax highlighting. Okay, and I mentioned that in the debug strategies. So this editor has syntax highlighting. And so it'll change the color for you, and that's a tool that we can use later for debugging and finding mistakes. Now, every tag has an end tag, and I like to tell students when we're doing HTML or programming, it's really, think of a sandwich. Like when you're making a hamburger, you're going to have a piece of bread, and then you're going to have some kind of sauce or something, and then you're going to have your hamburger, and then you're going to have sauce again, and then the other piece of bread. It's a sandwich that is nested. Nesting is the word that we use here. And so everything that's going to be displayed has to be nested inside the code. So the beginning HTML tag starts here, and then if I hit enter to make it a little more legible for us, this is in between the HTML tags is where our content has to go. So I now need to copy or cut this Lorem Ipsum and paste it in here. Now let's see if this works. So I'm going to go ahead and save my change. I'm going to go back to my code, and I'm going to hit refresh. Voila, there you go. Now, there's something I want to mention about this as well, because coding today is much easier than it was many years ago, or when I was starting. Web browsers today, like Google Chrome, which I'm using, and it doesn't really matter, all web browsers today are very smart. They're not dumb. So you can be a sloppy coder, and the web browsers will be able to interpret what you're trying to do and will actually, display what you want to display. So for example, the code that I just wrote back in here is incorrect. However, it does display. That's because, once again, my code is sloppy, but the browser is able to figure it out. So if I go back here, what's actually wrong is all web pages, every single one in the world, is made up like the human body. There's 2 components to it anyway, the head and the body. The body is what people see when you go to a website. The head is the metadata, or the information that the web server needs in order to display your content properly. And so I'm going to go ahead and skip the head because we're doing a very simple web page right now. But we do have to make a body. So this is a tag, just like any other tag. So it must start with an angle bracket. We're just going to type in body, and then end angle bracket. Now you'll notice it'll go ahead and interpret what the end tag should be. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut that. I'm going to paste it here, because remember, we're nesting. So the bread, for example, the first tag is HTML. The sauce, for example, the mustard and ketchup or whatever you want to put on there, will be the body, and then the hamburger itself is going to be the content. So everything is nested, and we'll talk a little bit more about the nesting as we go on, as we proceed. But for now, let's go ahead and save this, and let's see what it looks like. It should actually be no different. So if I go ahead and hit refresh, it keeps wanting to translate, sorry, because it sees the Latin in there, the Lorem Ipsum. But it doesn't look any different. But the code is now correct. If I go back here, right, it's now fixed. And so we now have our first web page. It's working. But let's go ahead and add some of these tags in here. So one tag I want you to use is a bold tag. So let's go ahead and let's put the first Lorem Ipsum in bold. Now we have to remember, we have to nest this. So if I want to bold the Lorem Ipsum, it must be nested inside the bold tag. So the first tag that I'm going to put in here is B. By the way, a lot of students always ask me, does it have to be is it capital letters or lowercase? Is it case sensitive? HTML tags are not case sensitive. But be forewarned, later on, when we start talking about PHP or coding or scripting, all code is case sensitive. HTML is actually not programming, it's markup language. But let's go ahead and I'm going to cut this last, or I'll just delete it. I'm going to go ahead and let's zoom in a little bit so it's a little easier to see. So the first bold tag is right before the lorem ipsum, and I want right after the lorem ipsum, because I want it to be nested, is going to be the end tag for bold. Now, as you can see, every beginning tag has an ending tag, and the way that you distinguish them is by a forward slash. And you could always remember that it's a forward slash, not a backslash, because we read from left to right. So if this was like a stick that was propped up, and we were standing where the blinking light is right now, cursor, and we were to let go of that forward slash, it would fall forward. It would fall forward in the way that we are reading. We read from left to right, so that's going forward. Okay, a backslash would look like that, right? Because it would fall backwards. And by the way, with the case-sensitive syntax highlighting, if I put the wrong thing in there, you'll notice the color of body is no longer purple, right? It's black. That should give you an immediate red flag saying there's something wrong with that tag, okay? So the color is a great way for many of us to, that's why programmers did this, right? So let's go back to the lorem ipsum, and let's go back here and do an angle bracket / B and do that. So let's go ahead and save it. Oops, I got to zoom back out so I can see my save button. If I go back and do refresh, you'll notice the lorem ipsum is now in bold, right? Pretty cool. Now, if we were to go back and take the, let's make this a backslash. So now this tag is not correct any longer, and we save it. Let's see what it does. Do refresh. Now you'll notice everything, all the text is now in bold, and we're now displaying the actual wrong tag that we didn't, we're not supposed to see that. The people reading your website are not supposed to see the tags, but they can, which means obviously there's a problem with that. And by the way, it started the bold tag right before the uppercase L here, and it's not going to stop until it reaches an end bold tag, which is done correctly. And since there is none, it's all going to be in bold, okay? And that's not going to look very good in your web page. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to fix it. Okay, and that's one tag. Now, what I would like you to do is figure out a paragraph tag, an ordered, unordered, a break, and italic, and I'll explain each one. By the way, a great website to go to. It's a very noisy motorcycle. A great website to go through is W3 Schools. Okay, W3 Schools is a great resource for learning about tags. It can do all the languages. I mean, PHP is here, SQL, which we're going to learn later, CSS, which we'll learn later. They're all here, and it gives great examples. So you can just come here and find the tag that you're looking for. For example, I could just go to search and do bold HTML. If I do search, it'll say, okay, HTML bold tag, and it will give you an example of how to do it. And it actually lets you try it within their little website if you want to give it a go real quick. But it shows you how it works. So, here's the bold tag that we were just learning how to use, right? And it kind of shows you how to do it. So it's a great place to come to figure out the tags. So this is where you should probably come to learn how to do all these. But a paragraph tag will make a paragraph, for example. An ordered list will do, a numbered or non-numbered list, bulleted list, which is very helpful. A break tag just goes to the new line, because remember, just like when I first pasted the Lorem Ipsum, it will run on forever in one line, which is okay. However, it's very difficult for humans to read that. So we need to break it somehow, and a break tag will go to a new line. I'm keeping it within a paragraph tag obviously does the same thing, but they're a little bit different in their use. Italic makes text italic. So those are the tags that I want you to use, and I want you to go ahead and try and make your web page and see if you're successful. If you need any help, please contact me, and we could even arrange an online meeting if you want. I can go through it and help you with it. So good luck.